Hello with Pink and Maine. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be creating some fun fall cards with the adorable Pick of the Patch stamps and dies and more. So let's head on down to the table and let's get started. So I've got our first card here and I'm using an A2 side folding card base. It's one of our pre-scored card bases. And then I've got my other parts and pieces. And we're going to start with a piece of teal cardstock that's cut with our stitched rectangle dies set 1, and it is the size of the card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it has that nice stitched edging around it. Next I've got our crosshatch die, which gives a nice little background for a card. It's got the little crosshatch. It's a nice detailed die, and I love using it in a background, especially for these fall cards. Kind of looks like a haystack or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and glue that on. I've got our Easy Squeeze craft glue, and I can put a fine line of glue on most parts of the dies. You don't have to do each in a little tiny individual piece, but I want to cover a good portion so it'll stay nice and flat on my card. Fall cards are such fun cards to create. I love the colors of fall and pumpkins and pumpkin patch. I think we all have memories of picking out pumpkins and carving them when we were younger and doing it with our own kids. So these cards are fun to create and they kind of bring up some of those memories. So now we're going to stick down the crosshatch die to our card base. And before I glue the whole panel to the card, I want to add some ribbon. I want to add some ribbon to this card panel. And I like to take the ribbon and wrap it around the back of the card panel to adhere it on the back. So I just put a little bit of adhesive on the back ends of the ribbon on both sides. You could use liquid glue, but I find a tape runner is just quick and simple because it adheres right away and you don't have to wait for glue to dry when you wrap it around the back. So I just pick out the spot where I want it to be, and then I wrap those sticky ends around the back to adhere them. Just like so. And now we're ready to add this card panel to our card base, and the ribbon is nice and open on the front because I have another piece of ribbon that we're going to add to the card as a little accent in just a moment. So we'll stick the card base down to our card and then we'll finish embellishing our card. Little bit of glue goes a long way. It may look like I have a lot there, but it's really thin lines of glue. So just thin lines of glue work best. You don't need a whole thick glob of glue just to hold paper to paper. Now we're ready to add our little stack of jack-o'-lanterns. Aren't they sweet? I love that one with a little scarf in the middle. They each have a little smiling face. The one at the bottom has a candy corn nose. So cute. I'm going to take some of our foam tape. It's a nice big roll of foam tape. I've used a lot of mine here. It's not quite as big as it once was, but it'll last you a good long time. I like our foam tape because it's a 1/16 of an inch thick, so it's not so thick that you can't easily throw your card in the mail and not worry about it. But you can also stack it together to make it a little thicker if you want. So I'm just going to use one piece on this card. We'll stick it to the back of our pumpkins and we'll adhere them down to the card just as kind of sitting on top of that ribbon. So I've got that fun crosshatch background, the little pumpkin sitting on there. And now we're just going to add the sentiment that I stamped. It says, "Hey Pumpkin." I'm just going to add some glue to that, and we're going to adhere it to the card as well. Just a super simple, sweet card. But perfect for sending, just to say hello. Now I'm going to slide that other piece of ribbon underneath the ribbon that's adhered to the back of the card. That's why I like to leave it loose in the front, so I can slide that ribbon under. I'm going to add a little dot of adhesive where I want to tie my knot. I usually like to tie knots on cards. Not a huge bow maker, but I like the look of a simple knot of ribbon. It just gives some extra texture to your card, so everything is not paper and flat. And I just like how it looks. And this fun orange gingham ribbon that I found in my stash, I think gives the perfect little touch to my little fall card. So tie a simple knot and press it down into that adhesive, and it'll stay right there because of that dot of adhesive. And then all I have to do is just trim a little bit off the ends so it looks nice, neat, and finished. And here's our card. Isn't it sweet? Super simple and easy to do, yet it's a lovely card to give to a friend or loved one. Next up, we have another fun fall card with the adorable pumpkin here with a scarf. I've got some twine that we're going to add instead of ribbon this time. This is some of our twine in a few different colors. I like the look of ribbon and twine on cards. Just like I said, it gives that extra little texture to the card. I've got a sheet of paper from our Fall Ginghams paper pad and a piece of craft cardstock. This color is Brownstone from Pink and Main, and I've cut it just a little bit smaller than my A2 size card. And then I've cut the Fall Gingham just a little bit smaller than that. So you could do it 4 by 5 1/4 for the craft cardstock, and then 3 3/4 by 5 for the gingham cardstock. I'm going to glue the two card panels together. We don't want to add them to the card just yet because we're going to wrap some twine around them. Next up, I've got 2 strips of paper that are the width of the card. I kind of like how they overlap over the edge of my card panels, but stretch out to the width of the actual card. So they are 4 1/4 inches long. The yellow piece in the background is about 1 inch wide, while the stripe piece is 3/4 of an inch wide. And we will glue these 2 pieces together. Normally I do my videos and I do the talking while I'm making the cards and it flows seamlessly. This time the video was a little corrupted on the audio side, so my voice didn't come out right, so I have to do my voiceover after the fact. So I'm watching and talking as I create the card on the screen, so if I seem a little off, that's why. But we'll go along and we'll make these cards, and they're going to be so cute. Now I'm just separating out some of my twine. I want to get some to wrap around these strips of paper that we're going to add to the card, and I'm leaving a few loose pieces so that we can tie them to the front and make a knot like we did with the ribbon in the last card. So I'm using a little bit of tape runner to adhere the ends of the twine to the back. And that's the end of that roll of tape runner. Time to get a new one. I just have to piece the ends or press the ends of the twine down into the adhesive so they'll stay long enough until I glue the pieces down to the card base. Next, we're going to glue our card panels down to our card base. I lay my glue down on the side in between using it, just laying down on the table because it keeps the glue down towards the tip of the glue bottle instead of standing it back upright each time and the glue running down to the bottom of the bottle. That way when I pick it up, it's a little bit easier to use each time. If you also have a nice handy glue holder, you could stick it upside down in the glue holder. Next up, I have another piece of that craft cardstock, which is our color brownstone, and I cut it out of a zigzag circle die. I like the zigzag pattern and the little stitching in there. It gives a nice little detailed look. And I want this to kind of hang off the side of my card. It's very pleasing to the eye to have things on your card look like or appear like they go off the edge of the card. You don't want everything contained in the center of the card. Sometimes you just want something to look like it goes over the edge. That's real pleasing to your eye. So we're going to glue down this now semicircle or semi-zigzag circle to the card base. I'm going to put it all the way to the edge of the card base instead of just the card panels because our strips that we're going to add on next, they go to the edge of the card also. So I want to make that circle looks like it's going off the edge, and then our strips here go all the way to the edge of the card as well. All these little design elements work together to bring together a very cohesive looking card. You want everything to flow for your eyes. So I'm just adding some glue to that twine so it'll stick down to the card, and then we'll also stick down these strips of paper. And you can use the patterns in your paper to help you line things up straight. You see how the lines of my gingham go right across with the strip of paper, so I use that as a guide to get it nice and straight across the card. Now I'm going to cut some more foam tape because we're going to pop our little pumpkin up on the card to give it some dimension. We've got a pumpkin with a scarf, and again, he's got a little candy corn nose. He's so cute. And I love him in that little hat. So we'll just add some foam tape to the back. And I've also cut a nice small little strip that I'm going to add to the pumpkin's friend. It's a little turtle holding an acorn. It's so cute. So he looks like he's trying to give the acorn to the pumpkin. So we'll sit those right atop that twine. Go ahead and remove the release paper from our foam tape, which is one thing I love about our foam tape. The release paper comes off nice and easy. Don't want to have to struggle with any kind of release paper on adhesive. It's always frustrating. So we'll stick our little turtle friend right there next to our pumpkin. There we have our card so far. It's looking really cute. We have the sentiment to add next. It says, "Happy fall, y'all. And I think it'll look great right up here, right along with our little characters on the card. So everything is just centrally located and your eye just likes to look around in that one little area. I'm going to glue the sentiment just flat down to the card. And then the last thing I want to do is add our last couple little pieces of twine. I'm going to push it up underneath the twine that's on the card already. Just push it up under all those pieces. Want to make sure it goes under all of them, so it'll tie a nice knot on all those pieces of twine. Really like the textured look that this twine gives, especially to a little fall card with the fall colors. So I put another dot of adhesive on the pieces of twine on the location where I'm going to tie the knot. That'll help keep my knot right where it is, right where I want it to be. So just tie a simple knot with all these pieces of twine. Tie it nice and tight. And then I will cut some extra off the ends again. And then one thing I like to do with twine is I like to kind of fray the edges a little bit with my fingers. It just makes it a little thicker and takes up a little more space on the card. So I like to fray the ends of the twine. I really love how that looks. And there we have another cute, sweet, simple card. Happy fall, y'all. I've got another side folding A2 card base on one of our pre-scored for this card, and we're going to make a shaker card this time. Our full shaker cover pieces make making shaker cards so simple and easy. So the size I'm using here is our A2 small shaker covers. They fit on an A2 size card, but they're a little bit smaller. When folded, they are 3 3/4 by 5 inches, so you can fit a nice border behind it. I've got our pick up and place tool. It has a pokey end, and we want to remove the protective cover that's on our shaker cover. So I'm just going to kind of pick and poke at the corner there with the pokey tool. You can also use our fine tip tweezers for that. And then you just pull that plastic coating off and throw it away. Now I'm folding back the flaps. I like to pre-fold the flaps on the shaker cover just so it's easy to put together when we're ready to put it together. And you fold it back towards the adhesive side. Now we're going to flip the shaker cover and put it face down on the table so the adhesive side is facing up. Our panel that goes inside, now on the instructions of our shaker cover on the package, I have the size to cut the panel for the inside. And this is a panel I made a little while back. It's one of our foilables. It's a foliage, and it has a stencil that goes along with it. And the stencil set has a few stencils so that you can make a multicolored background with those foiled parts of the leaves, and it's really gorgeous. I've used our watercolor neutral foil for that, and I love the browns and yellows that you see in it, and it just picks up the light so well. It makes for a really beautiful fall background with the oranges, teals, and greens that I've used in the stencil. So we're going to use this as our background in our shaker cover. So we're going to put it face down into that shaker cover. And we're going to center it the best we can. And you want to keep it centered and you want to keep it flat. So we're going to hold on to the shaker cover with one hand. And we're going to peel the release paper from one flap with our other hand. And then we're going to fold that flap over and adhere it to the paper inside the cover. We're going to rotate it. We're still going to hold that down flat to the table while we peel the other release paper. and fold that flap down to the paper in the shaker cover. And we're going to do that one more time with the third flap. Still holding it flat to the table. You want this shaker pocket to be nice as flat as possible. So once we've done the 3 sides, we've created a pocket. So you can see, you can open it up. You can add anything to that pocket that you like. I've got a mix of our confetti sequins. This is from one of our previous Crafty Courtyard kits, but you can find lots of confetti sequins on pinkandmane.com. I just thought the colors in this one match our card really well. Has some beautiful fall colors. Our bags for our confetti sequins do have like a Ziploc top so that you can open and close it and use a little or as much as you like. I'm just going to cut mine open just for quick ease of use here. You also get lots of confetti sequins in the package, so you have plenty left over for multiple cards. You pour as little as you like into your shaker pocket, and you're going to turn it back over on the table, peel up that last piece of adhesive, still hold the pocket nice and flat to the table, and then fold that 4th flap over down to close up the pocket. And how super simple was that to create this wonderful shaker pocket? There's no easier way to make a shaker card than with our full cover shaker pockets. I love the look of that foiled panel with these sequins. Isn't it sparkly? Now I got a piece of our teal glitter paper from one of our glitter paper packs, and I've cut it with our scalloped rectangle die. I love that scalloped rectangle die and using it as a background on my cards. Just having those little scallops peek around from the back of the card just looks so cute to me. I really like those scallops. So we're going to adhere that panel to the card base. And the largest scalloped rectangle die cuts just slightly smaller than your A2 card, so it'll be 4 by 5 1/4, so you get a nice white border around it. The teal of that glitter paper matches the teal I used in the stenciling of that panel. Looks really pretty together. I'm going to get some of our 1/2" Easy Tear tape. You want to use a nice strong adhesive when you're adhering the shaker pockets to the card. You want something nice and strong that's going to hold really well, because the shaker pocket, it adds a little more heft or weight to your card than just a piece of cardstock or two. So we want to hold it down really well. You can use liquid glue as well, but it will take a little bit longer to dry and hold down. You want to just set it aside, maybe put a paperweight on top of it and let it dry. But for this time, I'm going to use our Easy Tear 1/2" tape. It's a nice strong adhesive and it's easy to tear by hand. And another thing I love about it is how easy the release paper will come off from the tape. It's nice and easy to use. And I'm just going to cover each of the 4 sides with a piece in the center to hold our shaker pocket down to our card base. You can make shaker cards for all occasions, and they're just the type of card that you give to someone and they can't believe that you made it yourself. They just can't believe that it's something you made. But don't ever tell them how easy it really is. You got to make it sound like you worked on it for days, right? So once I remove all the release paper from my tape on the back of the shaker pocket, we're going to add that down to the card base. Since I am adhering it to glitter paper, which is a little bit textured, I'm going to add the extra insurance of some liquid glue. It'll just help adhere really well to that glitter paper. Glitter paper is notorious for being hard to adhere something to with just a tape or a tape runner, because the texture of the glitter, it's harder to hold. So using a little bit of liquid glue will really help to keep the nice card together for a long time. Once I get that pressed down really well, we are ready to shake, shake, shake our shaker card. I love them. You could just add a sentiment to that and it would be gorgeous. It doesn't really need much more, but we're going to decorate this a little more. I've got 2 strips of paper. They're the width of the shaker cover, so they're 3 3/4 inches wide. And the background, which is in our brownstone, is about 1 inch thick, and the striped paper is about 3/4 inch thick. So they layer together nicely and you get some brown on each side of that striped paper. Most of the pattern paper that I'm using for these cards is from our Hello Fall paper pad. I also have some sheets we're going to use from our Great Outdoors paper pad. The two of them go really well together. So we'll glue these strips down on top of our shaker cover. You can use different adhesives to adhere paper to the shaker cover. If you're using a liquid glue, it'll just take a little bit longer to dry than normal because the shaker cover is a non-porous surface, so it doesn't sink into it like it does the paper a little bit. I'm going to add some foam tape to our pumpkin that we're going to add on top of the strips of paper. Got another adorable jack-o'-lantern with a scarf. I just love the little faces on these. They're so sweet. And we've got some sunflowers that are in the stamp set as well. And we're going to add some sunflowers around this pumpkin. It's just going to be a super cheerful card. I love pumpkins and sunflowers in the fall. I'm just going to place them first to kind of see where I want them on the card before I glue them down. And I haven't quite pressed down that pumpkin all the way onto the shaker cover, so I can kind of slide these sunflowers behind him. And once we're done, then we'll press him down really good. There we go. I love that. It's looking really cute. And last, not least, we've got our sentiment to add. It says Autumn Blessings. So I've stamped that and die cut it out. And I'm just going to use some of the glue and adhere that right down to the card. And I'm going to put the sentiment, let's see, over to this side. I've got an adorable shaker card, lots of sparkle and shine with those shiny sequins and also the bits of foil in the background. So fun. For our next card, I've got some more pattern paper from the Hello Fall paper pack, and I've cut an orange piece of cardstock to fit the size of an A2 card. So that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then my leaf panel is 4 by 5 1/4. And I've used our stitched rectangle dies to cut that. The orange is cut with set 1, and then the leaf paper is cut with stitched rectangles set 2. The two sets of stitched rectangles layer nicely together. We're going to glue the card panels together, but we're not going to glue them to the card base yet because we are going to add some more ribbon to this card. Like I mentioned, I love adding ribbon and twine to cards to give that little extra texture. Here I've cut 2 of our stitched oblong oval dies. I've cut kind of a dark yellow mustard color paper and some of our craft color brownstone. And with this smaller one, I've run it through with our burlap embossing folder. And look at that fun texture that that burlap embossing folder gives to the paper. Perfect for a fall background on a card. So I'm going to glue our 2 oblong ovals together. And this is going to be the place where our little pumpkin is going to sit and live on the card. So I'm going to sit it off to the right hand side a little bit, and we'll glue that down to those card panels. We'll glue these down and then we'll add the ribbon to the card panels. And since I ran out of my tape runner for this time, I'm going to have to use some liquid glue to adhere the ribbon to the back. So I kind of hold it where I want it on the card. And then I flip it over and we're going to add a little bit of glue where it's going to stick to the card. I don't want it too thick because I want it to dry rather quickly. So I'll just fold the flaps or the ends of the ribbon to the back of the card panels, and I'm going to hold that down for a few seconds and let the glue dry. And once the glue's dried, I can now glue the card panels down to my card base. And now we're ready to decorate the front of our card with our little pumpkin and sunflower and leaves. Another sweet little pumpkin sitting on a stump. It's got a scarf, a sweet little smile. So we're going to set her in the center. And the stamp set has these blowing leaves, which is really fun. They're kind of in a curved location. So I was going to put one on the top and one on the bottom when I was kind of thinking about the design of the card. But I think I decided once I started placing them that we'll just stick with the one that's on the top. I think I like how that looks a little better. I've got some tiny little mushrooms from this set to add, as well as some sunflowers and Pick of the Patch sentiment. So just like the other card, we'll put the sunflowers around the pumpkin, and I'll go ahead and glue them down so that we can then glue our pumpkin on top of them, but we can get them situated just where we want. Just peeking around our pumpkin, and then the next one I think I'm going to put in front of the pumpkin. We'll see how it looks. Yeah, I think I want to put it right in front. So we'll have to glue our pumpkin down first before we do that. And once we get her situated, then we can pick our sunflower back up. It's already got the glue on it, so we can stick it down. I like how that looks. Super cute. I'm going to go ahead and put the little blowing leaves up on top of her. I like how it adds to the curvature that we already have with our oblong oval dies. It just fits right up there with that same little curved lines. So now we're just going to add our mushrooms. So I'll add dots of glue where I want the mushrooms to sit. And for picking up tiny pieces of paper like this, I'm going to use the other end of our Pick Up and Place tool, which is a wax tip. And it will pick up gems and pearls and sequins, but also small little pieces of paper like this that sometimes are hard to pick up with your hands. So it makes it easy to pick them up and place them just where you want them on your project. You want to be careful with the wax tip because it is fragile, but our Pick Up and Place tool is different in that we give you 2 extra wax tips when you buy it. So you get 3 total, 1 that's on the tool already, and then 2 extra wax tips. Now we're ready to add the sentiment. Again, it says pick up the patch. I think I'm going to pop it up with a little foam tape. So I'm just going to cut a piece of the foam tape, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it just a little thinner. So I get a thin little strip that will fit on the back of our sentiment. And we'll put that down there at the bottom of our little pumpkin scene. And the last thing we need to do is take our other piece of ribbon and tie a knot. See, I decided to take away that piece at the bottom. It just made it a little bit too busy in my opinion. So I like the highlight of the pumpkin in the center. And then once we add the knot to our ribbon, it's the last final perfect little touch. So again, I put a little dot of adhesive on the ribbon where I want the knot to sit, and then I just tie a simple knot in the ribbon. I always twist the one side as it goes through the loop so that the polka dots on the ribbon stay facing upwards. Just one little twist of that one side will keep it facing upwards. Then I press down on the knot into the adhesive, and then we just have to cut a little bit of the excess ribbon off the ends, and we are ready to go. Love that sweet little card. So cute. The blue ribbon really brings out the blue in the leafy background also. So let's take another little last look at the cards that we created today. We've made a shaker card and then a few more sweet and simple fall cards with the Pick of the Patch stamp sets. Thanks so much again for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the cards I created here and they inspire you to grab your stamps and dies and start creating your own fall cards. You can find these items and more at pinkandmane.com or ask your local retailer. And until next time, my friends, keep living the creative life.